Well, that's cute.
That's cute. That's cute.
What is your
hmm
favorite brand?
Oh, we're starting?
Yeah, I
Are
already
we,
pressed the record button.
you already starting? You
I
want like
already
a
pressed
natural
the
start, right?
Yeah,
That's
I
good.
mean,
That's
I
good.
gotta
Yeah.
press the record button and then just catch you off guard. That's how it works.
I think my favorite branding is in which area are you referring to?
Well, I don't know, like what comes into your mind? What is like the thing that pops out in your head?
Yeah, I feel like for me, my brand is. That's really a good question.
For me, it's always something to do with clothing or
Oh, I see. Yeah.
like fashion related. And then it goes into like technologies.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more like to the technology part because I always looking for some brands. I feel like I don't have to do a huge research to understand it offers like top-notch quality, but it's not
Mhm.
too luxury in a way. I
I
don't know how it.
It's we'll see. Oh wait, hold on. We forgot to do this.
Yeah.
Welcome to Pondering Pandas, a podcast where we ponder about the confusing modern world and try to make sense of it all. We are your host. My name is Jayden.
My name is Ryan.
Hello, Ryan. Today's topic, we are talking about luxury
Luxury
brands.
brands.
Luxury. Say it again.
Luxury.
Do you feel luxurious yet?
Yeah, I definitely want to learn more
Learn more about what?
the luxury brands regarding like because I do feel like I know them. I bought some of them and I just want to learn like what's people's perception so I can understand if I'm
Mm,
which position I'm at. Yeah.
what is like the luxury brand, the luxury thing, the luxury product that you've ever purchased?
Ooh, that's so personal. Oh my god.
Why?
I yeah, I think I purchased some like luxury bags for my girlfriend,
No, for yourself.
for myself, and for myself, I think
Like one of the
oh
very
I
first things.
I brought myself so-called like a luxury car, so that's what
So
happened.
called.
Because it's like a luxury brand, but the pricing
Uh-huh.
is not like really like luxury. It's not like a supercar or crazy stuff. It's like
Wait, hold on.
like the
I think we have a very different definition of what luxury means now.
yeah. See that I think that's the point of this episode. I really want to learn like what's the perception like in different.
Interesting. I think, yeah, I guess like what you perceive as luxury, what other people might not perceive as luxury, because like what you're talking in a completely different tax bracket according to what you just said. Like supercars, that is, I don't know, that is just beyond luxury, I think, it's just the top 1% market
Yeah,
I think where I
those are
think
the dreams.
luxury,
Those are the dreams. I
yeah,
think.
those are
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
dreams, and I guess you can consider that as a luxury, but I think that is just more than that. Whatever, if there's a word for that, like, um,
hmm
yeah, I have no
Super
idea.
luxury or like beyond luxury.
S-
Yeah.
Beyond luxury, for me, I think one of the very first things that I have bought was probably I think I bought a Louis Vuitton bag from my mom, and
Ooh.
it was nothing like crazy, but it was like in the States, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was like her very first Louis, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Amazing. But what did you buy for yourself?
Oh right, that's the question.
That's the question.
For
Yeah.
myself, I mean, I buy a lot of things for myself, but is it considered luxury though? I wouldn't really consider it luxury because I mean, my parents get me a lot of my luxury stuff, to be honest. I'm a spoiled brat.
That's good. That's good. So the question would be like, what kind of luxury goods you have or received?
Okay, this is gonna be terrible. Before I was even able to drive,
Mm.
my my mom got me a really nice car,
Ooh.
and yeah, there's a huge story about that. And yeah, it's gone. Like
What means
we
gone?
we don't have it anymore.
It disappears in the sea air.
No,
One day it decides to
no.
leave you.
I was being stupid and I totaled the car.
Oh really? Oh.
I did. It was bad. Yeah, and then I guess like Apple products, or fashion brands like Louis Vuittons
Yeah, yeah.
and I'm I'm low key wanting to get my hands on a luxury bag for my master's graduation. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to figure out like what it is I want. It's just like a graduation present for myself. That's all.
Sounds great. I
Yeah.
like that you mentioned Apple because that's actually one of the questions I'm curious. Like, do you
Yeah.
think Apple is considered like luxury? Because
I feel
yeah, I think
like
it's
it
so
can
popular
be.
and so common, but at the same time, the price tag is pretty high, right? So that's why.
I know. I think like that's what defeats the entire definition of luxury in a way, right? Like
Mm,
because phones depreciate so much every year,
mm-hmm.
and the exclusivity of the item is not necessarily exclusive, whereas some
Mm-hmm.
brands and like in fashion industry such as if you're familiar with Hermes, the Birkin, the Kellys, like
Yeah, yeah,
those are
yeah,
considered more exclusive items, and like even if you have money to buy it, you can't buy it. um and they it
yeah,
doesn't, like, the tech doesn't stay the same. Do you know what I mean? Like each year,
yeah.
because they do so much improvements,
Mm-hmm.
they like the battery dies, the hardware is out of date. So I think in terms like price tag wise, it would be considered a luxury item
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
that year. But as the year goes by, it wouldn't necessarily be
Yeah,
that luxury item anymore,
yeah.
because there's new things that is better and all that stuff. But I think tech wise is very hard to define as a luxury item in a sense.
I I agree. It's definitely different. The availability will be different. Like the Hermes like Birkin and all the stuff, it would be really hard to get. The scarcity and stuff would be really really hard. And we will talk about this later. It's regarding like something I really want to touch on. It's like because I do have this I think they do have this like spending requirement strategy or hunger cells, whatever you describe it. So that would be
Mm.
interesting. But I just want to learn. A small follow up here would be sorry.
You need some water? You should drink some water.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
What about alcohol? Do you have alcohol?
Not for today.
Are you saying luxury brands don't deserve an alcohol episode?
Yeah, it definitely deserves. So that's my lacking part.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, my I guess my small follow up question here would be, do you really think those are the investments? Because I do feel like most of the luxury items do lose value over time, even though in the selling or in the sales process, people tell you it will appreciate, you know, over time. But it's not necessarily the case in real life.
I agree. I don't think it 100%. Um, I don't necessarily think it's an investment when the product continues to come out
Hmm.
all the time. However, there are statement pieces in fashion,
Yeah, 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 definitely. Yeah.
um in other types of, I don't know, I think watches might be a very good example. So like Rolex
Hmm.
watches, if you have like a
Hmm.
really rare one and
Hmm.
if they don't make it anymore, then I think those would definitely appreciate in price.
Hmm.
And other types of items in fashion industry, like they if they don't make it anymore and it doesn't exist, then that would eventually appreciate. But like if the brand is still there and they are making money from it, if they decided one day to like slash out all the Birkins and not make it anymore, and they'll only come
Mm-hmm.
out with like one thing per year of Birkin, then I think it would make the item a little bit more desirable
Yeah.
compared to now, because you can technically go to a secondhand store to
Mm-hmm.
buy a Birkin if you want to.
But how do you verify the authenticity? Like that's something like really it's something that really bothers me. I'm going to share with you because I feel like I want to buy a Birkin for my girlfriend.
Mm-mm.
It's already very hard to get because they have this hunger sale or spending requirement strategy.
Right.
So I'm also learning like it depends on the area you're living at. So
Mm-hmm.
here in Canada, basically, you have to spend double the price at very minimum to get a
Right.
Birkin. So that's something like I feel like, oh my god, that's am I, am I doing this? But of course I consider secondhand like stores and stuff. But my question is like,
Mm-hmm.
how do I verify the, authenticity regarding if that's real or fake? So that's
I
something. Yeah.
I don't know about Canada, but there is a couple of shops in London right now that has
Hmm.
specialty items like Birkins and Kellys and rare pieces of items, such as
Hmm.
bags, that you can come and purchase them if you want to. They, I think through social media right now has created a specific brand for that shop, and those stores allows these people to build a bit more trust
Hmm.
of like the collection that they have within the store. So like if you are seeing a lot of people selling their authentic Birkins, their Kellys, and just because they want cash, then you're probably more or less able to trust that that is authentic, right?
Hmm.
Because they probably will have receipts, they probably will have a history of like what happened to the bag, or like, oh, how long it's
Hmm.
been used for XYZ. I don't know how to do that, but like it's definitely not my forte. And
Hmm.
I don't know.
But it's
I
good
mean,
to learn. It's good to learn.
yeah, I mean, I would love to have a little Birkin if I can, just because. Like I don't know if I'll ever wear it or use it, but it's just like, okay, just because I have one.
Yeah, I think it's such a great success for Hermes to bring like Birkin to be this achievement everyone wants to touch and to be like you have to have one. It's the most difficult to get and stuff like this. So yeah,
Okay, here's my
interesting.
other opinion though. Like it it's not even that amazing. Like in terms of the bag itself, like in terms of
Yeah.
practical use, it is nah. I don't think it's I don't think it there's I don't know. In terms of function is not great is what I'm trying to say. And
Yeah.
you have to like unlock it, you have to put a lock into it, you have to twist it, and then there's like these flaps on top of it, and it looks cool. I mean, it is a bag, so you could go to, you know, Marshalls or Sears. I mean, wait, Sears don't they don't open anymore, but you can still go to Sears and grab a bag. But here's the thing. I think
Hmm.
what's really interesting right now with the Asian perception of Western brands,
Hmm.
the obsession of Western brands in Asia
Yeah.
is quite interesting for the past at least 20 to 25 years.
Oh, it's crazy.
And what I mean by that is a lot of the people who buy these luxury items, let's just stick with, I don't know, say Apple,
Hmm.
fashion such as Louis Vuitton, Gucci, Prada, Hermes, you know, those things, the really well-known ones, those are the clients have been mostly um Chinese clients for because the boom economy in China.
Mm-hmm.
And the last time I went to Paris this year, the Louis Vuitton sales rep basically told us is like, oh, it was really insane when people buy bags. They were like couple of thousand. Yeah, sure. You
Yeah.
show them like this new thing that just came out and it's like, oh, we
Mm-hmm.
only have like maybe four in Paris. So like if you want to get it, you should.
Mm-hmm.
People will not think twice and just buy it, right? You know, drop
Yeah.
10 G's, drop 20 G's, like sure, like whatever. But apparently right
Mm-hmm.
now, people will think about it. People will like, oh, do I really need to spend this money? So
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of the sales, in terms of I guess like the extra spending money is a little bit more cautioned comparatively
Mm-hmm.
to the previous couple of years. And I think that's translating across the world as well. People are looking at alternatives.
I agree. I definitely feel like now it's getting because China's economy is getting some taking some hits, and people are yeah, people are considering like their expenses, and people are being more rational about like how to like cut some expensive, and luxury items is usually the first ones to be cut because they're not necessary to be the most important items or the priority they have. But I really want to emphasize because you mentioned that for the past 20 or 30 years, we had this crazy era of people buying luxury items. There are actually several factors. I'm not sure if you know. So,
No, maybe
so
not. Do tell.
yeah, so the first one is actually we value like the face, like I think the Chinese people really value like showing off or the face or whatever you may call it.
Yeah, yeah. My
So
mom is
basically,
always like that. Always. She's like, you have to display how you look
yeah,
before
exactly. Yeah.
you she's like when you go to interviews make sure you dress really nicely, make sure you like
Uh-huh.
wear xyz, like obviously people are going to dress up for an interview. I'm not gonna
Uh-huh.
just show up in sweatpants and and like a hoodie or something like that.
Or naked,
um or naked, exactly. I mean, unless that is the job, then then we're talking different, you know. You dressing for the job.
Well prepared. Well prepared.
Yeah. And I think it's also very necessary to understand and realize that, I don't know, I think right now our headspace is kind of moving towards like you have this thing, you have these luxury brands from head to toe, to the car that you drive, to the phone that you're using,
Yeah, it's
um to
everything.
the beverages you are consuming, like
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
entire aesthetic and look has become such a huge it factor for the Asian community, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
Chinese. They value it so much. It's just become so saturated to the point where there's nothing special about it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I agree, in the last 20 or 30 years, there's so many people are they from nothing to become
Yeah,
like, have the wealth and have the money. And
exactly.
this process is driving the people to have the motivation to have a way to show other people their life improves. I think it's a
Yes.
natural human desires. It's
Yeah.
not necessary to be negative or anything. Like,
No.
I think you just want to let people know. And and
Absolutely.
also
Yeah.
at the same time, I think you mentioned something. It's like really people really judge you based on your appearances and based on your, all the things you have. I'm not sure if that's an Asian culture or something, but I do feel like people judge more regarding like if you have the wealth or if you have the power or something like this. Because I know some examples. Like I do have some friends or family members who are doing business, right?
Yeah.
And and if they do business, they have to have a great car. They have to have a great car in
Yeah.
order to show other people they have the foundation for cooperation,
Yes.
or like so people can trust like they are
Yeah.
it's
I can relate to this like 100%. Like this is what my mom teaches me all the time. It's just like,
Yeah,
oh, if we're in business, like we need to drive a nice car, like or else like that's like a
exactly.
foundation of what it looks like, I guess, in a certain way. And I think
Yeah,
in a practical sense, it's like it doesn't really matter. Like, yeah, sure, like
but
it still gets you from point A to point B,
yeah,
and
I don't care so much about this because I feel like living in the Western society, we have slightly different cultures. I'm not saying like people are not, showing off or not buying like luxury items. I'm just saying like people feel like the cars can be more, casual. I feel like people are perfectly fine with driving a normal car to drive people from point A to B, and it doesn't really affect your status or anything like this. But it's actually something really important in China, at least. So sometimes I got some, Chinese friends visiting me, and just after we have dinner or we have something, I just say, "Oh, let me bring you to, let me just like say goodbye, and I just want to just make sure that you are in your car, and I just want to accompany them and to until like we say goodbye to the end. It's a
okay.
as a courtesy, right?
Hmm.
But I just realized that many times they will interpret that as something like I want to see their car.
Really
Yeah, so I was like so confused, like I was like so confused, but I just realized that can be really common. Yeah, especially if you have some friends who are a new immigrants or newcomers and stuff, they have this mentality more obviously. So that's something I observe.
interesting. I did not know that. That's. I mean, thanks for sharing because like I would have not thought about it
Yeah,
that way. But I think
yeah,
it could go the other way around where they want to come and judge your
exactly,
environment as well, right? Like
exactly,
they want to know what
exactly.
car you're driving, they want to know how big of a house you're in. They want to know like what brand names you're wearing and stuff like that. But like, it doesn't really do anything other than like this like status, this wealth, this like how much money you potentially have. You don't know what the other person actually have, right? Like in it's hard because there's been so many lessons in rich culture is like if you actually want to develop wealth you don't need to show it
Hmm.
off, and wealth is something
Exactly.
that's silent, right? And it's
Hmm.
in a sense I'm kind of moving towards a little bit more quiet luxury and more
Yeah.
towards something that is presented in a non-logo way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I'm a fucking logo whore, but like my mindset is changing.
Yeah. I.
And I'm slowly practicing a little bit more, and just looking through my graduation present, I'm like, oh, I don't want the basic stuff. Like I don't want a Louis Vuitton anymore because mom used to
Hmm.
always want me to just why don't we get you a Louis bag? And I was like, mom, like I'm so over that brand. Like I get it, like it's a great thing to symbol to have, but let's look at other things because there are other things to look at
Yeah.
for this occasion. So
Yeah.
I
I,
sound like a spoiled brat.
no, like it sounds like I think at least I'm on the same page with you. I feel like I want to buy the things I feel comfortable and it delivers me the functionality or features.
Yeah.
Uh, for example, do you know like this very glass I have is
Your
actually
glasses?
considered, yeah, it's actually considered a luxury brand, but you really cannot see it from the because it's like
I mean glasses are expensive, so
no, like all I'm trying to say is like this design, the reason I buy it is because it's so light and it has the flexibility and doesn't break easily and stuff like this. So that's the
mm,
feature like I'm looking for, and it's a little bit more pricey than the usual one, but I feel like it's worth the money. I feel like that's
mm,
my philosophy in a way that I'm trying to buy things that I feel like it would bring myself the functions or the things I feel like I enjoy. One more thing I think I want to add is that do you know like why Chinese people have been buying crazy stuff internationally in abroad, like in the Paris you mentioned, or in like Western world to buy all the like expensive cars and stuff like this?
Um, I don't. This is my guess because when
Mm-hmm.
you come to, I mean, I am personally experiencing this right now because when I go to Paris, I would most likely buy Western brand stuff,
Mm-hmm.
those Louis Vuittons and whatever. Because it's cheaper, relatively cheaper comparatively to other countries that you would buy them.
Exactly.
You would also get a tax break. You would also get
Exactly.
um it's like you can't say no to a discount, you know what I mean? Like comparatively to what you can get back home. If you're paying like 1.5 to 2 times more back in Asia or back in North America comparatively when you
Yeah.
go to Europe and get something, like I would 100% get it in Europe, because
Mm-hmm.
comparatively it's a cheaper price and you're willing
It's
to
much
pay for,
cheaper.
yeah, and if you're willing to pay for those, then might as well allow yourself to indulge in a little bit in those moments of like, oh look, I got it for discount, and you can go home and brag about it to your
Yeah. And
family.
also we got in original stores, and all those
Yeah,
things.
yeah, and official stores, you don't have to worry about it being fake, especially in Asia. You care about whether if it's authentic or not.
Yeah. And the same goes with the car. I think the car price in China is at least twice compared to the cars in North America, or I'm not sure about Europe, but it's definitely the North America. So
Mm.
when we are here, I feel like, oh my God, the cars are so cheap compared to the price you got in China.
Oh, I
And
think that's what you mean because like you're not saying like you would buy the car and then bring it to China because if you were like as an international student, if you
yeah.
were to live in say Canada and the States
Hmm.
for uni and if you needed a car, you're more likely to get a luxury car because your parents' mind is like, "Oh, back home, this luxury
Yeah,
car is actually a
exactly.
lot of money." And if you're
Exactly.
able to go drive a luxury car when you're going to study, like I'm more than willing to go and spend this money for you to get this luxury car because comparatively it's a lot cheaper.
Uh-huh.
That's a very interesting mindset. Like that's yeah.
It's 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 just so cheap compared to what you have in China. Especially we just mentioned China have this, luxury expensive car syndrome like, for the face culture and for like people to know. So
100%.
like and the situation is like those cars in here are so cheap compared to the price in China.
Okay, like how cheap are we talking?
Yeah, so like for the Benz G series, do you know like the
I
like
know
the
my Benz.
SUV, the Benz G series and all those like like those like off-road designs, the box shaped cars. They are
The
like
G
luxury
Wagon?
cars. Yeah,
G Wagons?
G
Yeah.
wagons, and they're luxury cars. They're like 2,000. Sorry, they're like 200K or 300K here in
Yeah.
Canada. So which is,
Yeah.
I think you can do the conversion and stuff. but in China, it's at least twice the price, at least. And it's like,
Okay.
it's like it started with like 400 or 500, or even it's getting higher to 6 or 7. So that's a
They're so
huge price
ugly.
difference.
They're so ugly. I'm so sorry. They're so ugly. I love Benz, but they're just so ugly. I can't.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, but the same goes like other things like the Porsche. The Porsche is, I think a Porsche here is around like you can get one from like 100K or higher for sure.
At
But in
least
China,
I would say like around 150 to 200.
yeah, but in China is at least twice the price,
So
or
how much is a
even like
Ferrari and Lambo? Is that also like double?
at least double. So the more luxury the cars, the more price difference there are.
Mm, okay.
For the non-luxury cars, for the non-luxury cars,
Such as,
such as
well, no,
what I
like I want to know.
doing? What
No,
I doing? Are you setting me up? Are you setting me up?
well, no, like I want to know, like, what are we comparing? Like, okay,
Okay,
so in
so
our definition right now, our luxury brands are, Mercedes, BMW, Audi, and then even higher ones such as Porsche, um, Lambo,
Ferrari,
Ferrari,
yeah,
exactly. And then, non-luxury cars, we're talking like Japanese, right? So, okay, maybe Lexus would be
Toyota.
considered, yeah, Lexus would be considered a luxury brand. And then Toyota
Lexus
would,
is luxury, yeah.
yeah, and then less luxury would be, a Toyota, a Honda, a Kia, a Hyundai, I don't know, like those things. I think everybody
Hmm.
kind of knows like where these classes of cars are. It's not a mystery to people. So, okay, so like even in China, like those, Hondas, Toyotas, are they also very expensive comparatively to here in North America?
You can definitely get some much more cheaper here in the North America, especially for the used cars. But I think for the selling price for the new cars, those the the gap is smaller. And I
Okay.
didn't double check, but I think the gap is really small. So that's why those will be the dominant parts, most popular choices for most people. Yeah.
He didn't check because he doesn't need to.
Oh my god.
I mean, what? I didn't say anything.
Yeah, and anyways, I think those are great. The main difference, I think, is for those non-luxury brands, there are some like local assembly chains or factories in China.
Yeah.
So actually it doesn't involve like the imports taxes, which is crazy. Yeah, I think China has around like 40% or even more of the import tax for the cars. So which is crazy.
What about tariffs? We're adding
And
tariffs now.
and yeah, those can be impacting more those situations. Why do you think like the Western always have seems to have like more luxury brands, but Asian is more, affordable and more,
That's a really interesting topic to kind of uncover a little bit. So, in my perspective, I
mm,
think there is this perception of things that are produced in Asia is supposed to be cheap, right? And
yeah.
for basically 2 decades or more, it has been that way. So anything that is, made in China is usually cheap goods, and therefore it's just been associated to low quality, cheap products. And anything that the West has created in terms of fashion, in terms of cars, those are considered more of a luxury thing.
Mhm.
And I think it is just mostly based on I think the total accumulated cost associated to the product, right? In reality, like there's cheap labor in China, so therefore the product would be very, very cheap to produce.
Uh-huh.
But due to labor laws in the West, then those products will become a lot more expensive to create, or they can just price gouge you, which makes sense in terms of luxury items. But I think it's just those two perceptions of the past few decades of, Asians creating the world economy of cheap goods, toys, any like household products that is made in anywhere in Asia is considered cheap. But I
Yeah.
don't know. I
War
think in terms
factory.
of, yeah, the factory issue. And now I think Asia is trying to kind of move, potentially move past it. Maybe
Hmm.
China might be trying to. And I am not sure how well it's going to be received because here's the other thing. When I think of China creating products, because I'm not saying China's greedy, and I think the entire world is very greedy to any extent. People will
Hmm.
cut corners. People will try to save
Yeah,
money
that's true.
to create the thing that you want it, that they will help you create the thing that you want, but potentially at a lower quality than you're
Quality and
expecting,
stuff. Yeah.
so they can make more money from you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there is this mindset of how, like, what can I make, like how much can I get more from you, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense, in
How can I
Asia, because
maximize
there's,
my profit and everything?
yeah, and just kind of like go, um be shady about it, and be,
Yeah.
because like the laws are a little bit different, and um it just makes it hard to shift that mindset. However, I think there are certain products right now might be changing that, because a
Yeah.
lot of the production lines are actually coming from Asia, right? Like,
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can, like, for example, Apple, like, you can design the goddamn thing in in California as it
Yeah.
states on the product, but
Mm-hmm.
assembled and made in China, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
how is that more luxury than a different phone that is actually made from China, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's technically potentially the same thing, but in the perception of how things are created, I think it is just the perception of the quality in the past of couple of decades that made this perception hard to change, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And also, like, if you see some, like, there's some like new clothing brands that's like outdoor oriented. I'm not sure if I should name them. Like the Acterex or other,
Yeah, yeah,
houses. They're pretty expensive, and some people consider them to be luxury in a way as well.
very much. Yeah.
And they're not made in North America, so they're made in Asia. Like some of them are made in like North America, but I think some of them are made in like Asia. And I heard one of my friend told me that Vietnam is becoming a leading like country for those
Yes.
outdoor clothing and stuff like this. So yeah, so in the end, I agree. So how is that going to make it luxury if that's like essentially those are very similar things.
It's all marketing and all perception and what the brand people believe in, right?
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people kind of do know that it is made in Asia and or some other country and just sold in the West for a much higher price. Even can I don't know if Canada Goose would be like Canada Goose, or
Hmm.
because I know Chinese people would come and buy Canada Gooses a lot, and
Hmm.
Arcteryx as well. Like they think it's very very cheap over in North America
Yeah.
comparatively back in China. So I mean, you
Yeah.
can buy the same thing, but yeah, it's just not as. I don't know if I can say nice. I don't know if I can say it's like it's not as nice, but I'm not sure. That's the thing. Like, you could buy a jacket from Shein or Temu,
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
and you could still collect quality if you want. But
Those are like this should be like perfectly fine. And also I think they have a really good returning policies and stuff. So you can always, change different ones if you don't like the ones you receive. So I do believe those are more. I think those are really reviewing what's the cost of like clothing and what's the true cost of the labor and how people are, what's this industry's foundation looks like. So it's definitely something to think about, like what's the price tag difference compared to, the luxury, brands or the designer brands. You have a jeans for over like, thousands of dollars and people still like fighting for them. So
yeah,
those are, yeah. So I guess sometimes it's just about like the perception and regarding like if this is something have good branding or have some celebrity associated with that. It just create all those popularity.
I think we're kind of moving away from that mindset right now, especially with younger generations. They are more or less looking for alternatives. Like, yes, the
Hmm.
older brands still exists, the really well-known ones, the really established ones, but there are new ones that's coming up that are um trying to make it into the market in the fashion industry, in other various markets as well. Like, it gives a different feeling, a modern twist, a modern luxury. Like, we can even think about beverages, right? Like, previously in China, no, I'm serious. Like, Starbucks is a thing in
Yeah,
China.
yeah,
Before Starbucks entered China, like, coffee was not a thing in China, right? I don't
yeah.
think it was a thing
It's never popular. Yeah.
until Starbucks came came to China. Like, everybody started to go fucking drink Starbucks because the cup held a symbol and a brand association to, like, the whole entire facade and look to your entire person when you're going into the office holding a cup of Starbucks. Like,
It's a
sure, like, in
status.
China,
It's
yeah, in China, you're paying like what, 2 to 3 times the amount of money comparatively. It's
maybe 10
different.
times.
Or 10. Okay, well, I don't know. But you can also
Yeah,
say that the same as about bubble tea. there's
yeah.
there's different types of bubble tea brands now. I mean, they're all the same in terms of the tapioca pearls, and maybe the flavor's a little bit different, the cups are a little bit different, the how you order the things are a little bit different. But there are ones that are much, much more expensive, and people
Hmm.
are lining up for that stuff. So,
Yeah, same goes like when we had the first, McDonald's or even KFC in China. It was
oh,
huge.
McDonald's.
It was huge, right? It's
Yeah.
amazing to see like how those more like common brands in the West becomes like sort of like luxury or sort of showing off restaurants for Chinese people back then.
I think it's kind of switching. I'm seeing this trend where I wouldn't necessarily say Chinese brands, but I would say Japanese brands
Hmm.
would kind of move towards the West now. And there's like these Japanese brands that are moving
Yeah.
towards North America and Europe, and maybe even food, like the types of food that they're able to serve, matcha and
Hmm.
those like sandos, and just it's kind of moving to a different direction now, where in Japanese culture it would be like more food and groceries, and Korean would be skincare now, and a lot of also
I see.
Korean
Yeah.
groceries.
Hmm.
And for China, I guess it's more or less still bubble tea, but I think it's kind of stagnating. Like, come on, China, we need new things, like, give it to the West to make a profit. But
Yeah.
I don't know what else there is. Like, that's the kind of movement that I'm seeing that is not necessarily like fashion, but like in other realms of luxury consumption that other people can have, is what I'm
Yeah.
seeing right now.
Yeah, I think China's strategy is more like I think it has its difficulty of expanding its own brands to the West due to several different reasons, the reputation or even political reasons. So
Yes.
that's really challenging. So I
Yeah.
think they're now like doing some strategy of like just purchasing those brands, existing brands, and pretending they don't own them. so so I think that's the strategy now. So for example, the Acteryx we talk about
Uh,
is actually belongs to a Chinese now,
oh.
and yeah, several years ago, and like the brands like Volvo, like Volvo, like the
Volvo?
car
Yeah.
is, yeah, Volvo is Chinese. So something like this. I think that's the main strategy China is doing. I do believe you will see more efforts like from Chinese to push their new technology and new brands. I think the most successful one should be the DJI, the drone like company. The tech
Mm,
company with the drone technology is really leading, and you will see a lot of the EV companies like the BYD you previously mentioned. It's like they're trying to
yeah.
promote to the West. So I think those are the efforts Chinese companies are making, but I'm not sure how far it can go and what's the local perceptions.
BYD is an interesting brand to talk about because their perception in China is actually not luxury, but the
Oh, they're really
way,
affordable. Yeah.
yeah, they're very affordable, but okay, I'm seeing a lot of it in London, and they look really
Mm.
good, at least in my opinion. Maybe it's because I haven't seen too many of them, so I'm always a little bit, ooh, like what does it look like inside, um and the feel of it, and the whole entire exterior design of the car looks pretty unique. So I think there is a freshness, modernistic take to um cars, in especially in electric cars, and even in current other electric cars like outside of Tesla. um what is it, Kia electric cars look really really cool.
Mm.
And yeah, but like in terms of luxury though, I don't know how it's going to build a brand in a luxury way. Maybe it's going to have to like rebrand itself from BYD if they do want to. An example would be from Toyota to like Lexus, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
That's
just
that's the perfect example.
yeah.
I guess the one of the controversies people have is regarding like if the EV is really like green. I think people
Mm,
are green is really branding, but I don't think EV are really green. And also,
you don't think so?
yeah, for I will explain for many of the luxury brands as well, because you will
Yeah.
see a lot of the I think it's the environmental impact is part of the branding instead of like really the um damn, how
Right. Are
should
you
I
talking
say it?
about cars or are you talking about like fashion?
I think talk about everything. It's regarding
Everything.
remember like when you have this big tech companies
Yeah.
like Apple, you always advise it's like 99 recycling or it's totally green, the packaging is green and everything is really, uh stuff like this. And also you have EV, it says, oh, it's a green technology, it's the future. And also in some luxury brands, if we just go beyond like the food and beverages, and they highlight a lot of the green elements as well, like the organic or even like just environmental friendly and less stress to the animals and stuff. And you just hear a lot of like wagyu beef stories regarding like how their cows are listening to the music and how they are getting massage from the people and to make sure they're happy when they grow up,
What? Okay. To be
I'm not sure
slaughtered. To grow
to
up
be
to be
yeah,
slaughtered.
exactly,
God.
only to be slaughtered later, for the sacrifice. I feel like part of the luxury is the ideology or the marketing that those brands trying to feed you regarding like, oh, by paying those extra money, I'm not only enjoying a better, product myself, I'm also contributing to the world. I'm such a good person, right? So it's like they're trying to create this feeling good feeling for the customers, and so they feel like, yeah, I'm consuming this expensive vegan diet salad, which is, I'm only talking from the price tag part. It may not be like so expensive for its materials and stuff, but the delivery is expensive, and you should be happy about it because you are promoting the healthy like ideology and stuff and green ideas. I think that's what environmental impacts place on the brands.
It's also about belief, right? I think it's also about
Mm-hmm.
what people think. Um, because you don't know if they're actually recycling everything.
Yeah,
Do you?
exactly. exactly.
And you don't actually know where this leather is actually coming from. I mean, unless you're going to do deep dive research about the company and like
Mhm,
how it's all linking as your free time, I
yeah,
think 99% of the people aren't going to check, right? It's about like what I'm going to tell you and versus how much you're going to believe me, right? So it's very
exactly.
different to what the environmental impact is. And I think, okay, the other issue is that environmentally friendly products right now, they're always relatively more expensive. An example would be I was at a grocery shop the other day wanting to buy a sponge to wash my dishes. I'm like, okay,
Mhm,
there is an option that is, zero plastic according to the label. Zero plastic, environmentally friendly. It will um, de- degrade or hold on, decompose in the environment with plastic free, blah blah blah. And it's like $8 for a sponge
yeah, exactly.
for me to wash dishes. And then next to it, for $3, I can get a plastic one that has 5 sponges. Like, I'm stuck in a dilemma. I'm like, okay, do I care about the environment at this point? Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, exactly.
that is one of the hard parts of
It's
trying to be environmentally friendly. I feel like it's also a luxury to become environmentally friendly because of how much more you have to potentially pay in
yeah,
in those aspects is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, and also if you want to eat healthier, you definitely want to spend more money. That's really not really affordable to many people.
Yeah,
So that's crazy, you know.
I know really well about that part. Um, I mean, there are ways to eat cheap, if you want to be healthy. There are ways. You just need to know what is considered healthy first and what is
I
not.
see. Yep. Back to the environmental part. I want to throw some examples here, like the one you
Do it.
mentioned. I don't think EV is green. The
Because of the
reason is
production?
yeah, because of production and also replacement of the batteries, and also after those batteries actually dies out, the
Hmm.
post like what's the post like
What is
not
the
post
after
production.
effects?
Yeah, what's the after effects and how people deal with those
Right.
batteries, right?
Yeah.
So so far, I do believe in the future we may have better solutions, but now I feel like the environmental impact for those batteries are humongous now, and people tend to not to focus too much because we're not reaching to this era yet because like the EV is just starting to be popular, and it takes several years before like a majority of cars reach to the point they have to replace their battery entirely, and this is where this whole situation will like burst. So I think we're close, but it's not there yet.
I think it's interesting because we're just being very reactive to the situation. For example, like the reason why electric cars has become really popular is because of, climate change, global warming,
Hmm.
CO2, and like
Hmm.
cars are part of the problem and CO2 emissions and all that stuff. So where electric cars that comes in and doesn't have those byproducts, then we're technically introducing something else into the environment. So
Exactly.
these batteries of this something else into the environment, something else is going to happen that we don't know what might happen yet, right? So I think that is definitely a pondering right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting to kind of highlight a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I talked to some of the local dealers, and they say like they now people are hating buying the EVs, but still that there's still some people buying. But people are starting to hate buying EVs because the insurance price is so high for
Really?
the EVs. Because
Oh.
I was so curious regarding like why, right? And they say the EVs are the battery is so fragile. So basically, if you have any accident or if you have any like accident that involves the battery, for most of the time, the dealer or the factory would just suggest you to replace the whole thing.
Replace the entire car.
You replace the entire battery on the bottom of the car.
Oh, okay.
So
Wow.
the whole like battery pack on the bottom of the car is what
Mm-hmm.
people will suggest you to do.
Right.
And from like an insurance company's perspective, it's crazy because for a normal car, if you have a small accident or you have something, you can always ask a mechanics to fix it, to replace some parts and to make the scale controllable. But for the EVs, it's like big bills per each accident. You have to replace the battery, and that's a huge like waste, or it's something like we cannot fix at the moment. And it's you can imagine how many like packs of the batteries are being replaced with so many like batteries are still functional, but they are no longer functioning as a whole part.
Right.
And it will actually increase the challenge for the environmental impacts
Insurance.
and everything.
So what you're saying is like what do you mean by like damage of so like parts of the that is connected to the batteries, say like the actual battery is not damaged, but other parts that is associated with the battery is damaged in the accident, they would be recommended to replace the entire thing, is what you mean.
Yeah, so basically, I'm not
Oh,
sure if you know, like on the bottom of the EV, so basically they
yes.
have a pack of the battery as a whole, like parts. It's
Yes.
basically the foundation of the car, so it's on the
Yes.
bottom.
Yes.
So it's inside is actually the small individual like batteries, like
Yes.
maybe there's thousands or even more.
Sure.
So I think currently, if some parts of it is damaged, and
Hmm.
those dealers and those people would just suggest you to replace the whole thing.
Okay, instead of like replace what is broken. I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, and
I,
and the productions we mentioned regarding the sweat factories in like say China and this assembly of the Apple products for sure. So some of the contractors, some famous ones, they
mhm.
actually was being famous to have their workers to jump off the roof.
What? Why?
Like it was famous like 10 or 20 years ago. I think it's 10 years ago. It's like they have a such intense working like schedule and also such a basically they're
Oh,
clocked in the machine
I
24/7.
see. Okay, okay. Yeah.
And
That's
so
wild.
many people just like cannot take it and they're jumping off the roof and they're like they just and the factory is basically in, implement more security measures to make sure no one can jump.
That is crazy. What? Our poor cousins couldn't
Yes,
take the
man.
heat. Oh my god.
And also, I heard some story from Taiwan, so it's from internet, so don't sue me. So, if you have, basically the Apple will ask its suppliers to be fully green, right? So that's a requirement for the policy.
Uh-huh.
But many of the suppliers doesn't really have those green like supplies or like they don't have like the water because they request the water to be 100% recycled water for the products like production. And in order to meet those requirements, some of the suppliers, worldwide, not limiting to one place, worldwide, they may choose to waste some water and convert them into recycled water so they can meet the standards. So they're
Ah,
not really getting the recycled water, but they are producing the recycled water, was more like cost and expensive.
they're basically just doing um shady things to meet the requirements. I
Yeah.
see.
So
So what's the lesson here? Don't buy iPhones. Get Get Xiaomi's, get what's the other one? What's the other
I
phone?
don't
What's the
know.
other Chinese phone?
I don't know. Huawei.
No,
I
the
don't know.
yeah, Huawei. Yeah, get Huawei.
I guess the lesson is great marketing. Yeah, that's a great marketing. And I think we never know.
My God, what a wild. Um, yeah, but like, how are you perceiving brands now? Like, are we after this conversation? Like, are you going to be a little bit more mindful about what you buy moving forward, or your habits won't change? Um,
Mm,
because there's going to be things that, you know, phones needs to be replaced soon. When I go back to North America, I'm gonna need to start buying a car soon. Um, right now, Tesla is a little bit out of the question. So I don't know. There's like I need to think about my options if that makes any sense.
yeah, totally. I feel like as a customer, we can only focus on our needs and demands in the functionality. And if you want to spend more money to take care of the environment, yes, sure you can, but you also need to know that it may not be the case 100%.
Yeah.
So just be, at least for me, I'd be like more, I feel like I have less restrictions. I can buy whatever I want. And I feel like I don't have to be judged internally by my like moral like cross and say like, oh my god, you are not being like, considerate or stuff. I'm thinking to myself like, yeah, like I never know, right? So if it's there's a product there and it's for sale, so it's definitely I can buy, right? I can buy whatever I want. So
Yeah, I think it's just options of like, okay, whether if you can spend the extra money for environmental reasons, and even if you think you are buying it for environmental reasons, like, is it actually doing anything for the environment? Or, yeah, I think that's it. That's all I got. But happy buying, everybody. Consume all the products.
yeah.
Support our cousins back home from not jumping off the roofs by purchasing as much as we can. And hopefully that's why AI is going to take over the world instead of our cousins.
Yeah.
So
They cannot jump, you know?
they can, well, maybe
Maybe.
they might jump in the internet. So
I see.
maybe. Okay, I've had enough of this topic. So
Yeah, yeah, I'm good as well.
thank you so much for tuning in to Pondering Pandas. If you liked this episode, please share it with your friends. Give us a comment, give us a review if you could please. That would really help us grow. We appreciate you pondering with us today. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See you. Bye.